What is up, guys and gals? Thanks for joining me here on my channel, Steven Sturgill. I'm live. We are live, and we're here to talk about Aperture. Sorry for the 3D lenses, guys. I'm under somewhat of a slightly severe cold / virus, whatever you call it. It's trying to get at me, and I'm saying, no, 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 go away. So I'm kind of medicined out, and eyes aren't looking so good, but still going to drop this episode live. Hope you don't mind the 3D glasses, and thanks for Mike joining me. See who else tunes in here any second, hopefully. Anyways, guys, as you all know, I'm a sucker, a hardcore fan of nearly anything tobacco-based in terms of perfumery. Does that mean I like every tobacco scent and perfumery and cologne or EDTs? Hell to the no, it does not mean that at all, but it probably means I'm going to get my nose on it at least once and see what all the fuss is about, or if it's an unheard of gem, or why are other reviewers sleeping on it, et cetera, et cetera. You know, how many people in the community love it, rock it, don't like it, hate it, think it sucks. Is it overpriced? Like maybe Herod, or like especially Creed's Tabarome. Well, at least if you're stupid enough to pay full retail. I shouldn't say that. There's well-to-do folks out there who've actually earned their money in rather brilliant fashion, and by all means, buy whatever you're going to buy and feel good about it. Oh, very cool. Yeah, I got my bottle for what it's worth, way, way cheaper than retail, but we'll get into that in a second. First off, the house that is Ulrich Lang. Now, Ulrich, I believe, is from southern Germany. Could be wrong. Don't know exactly where. I know his grandma is reputed to have had some kind of perfume business, or house or perfumery, something like that, in south of Germany, southern Germany. And he learned a lot about that at a fairly early age. Then got into L'Oreal and I believe a high-end photography, collecting photo art. Which he's still active to this day, and so he really knows a lot about a lot. Yeah, okay, and Mike is posting some stuff about what you may or can find on Fragrantica. You know, guys, I'll say a word to that. Mike is illustrating the fact that there are some people out there who are going to think that this smells like pungent pee. I personally totally disagree. That is not what this smells like. But huge asterisk, I kind of understand where someone that does not have as nuanced a nose could kind of interpret it that way. There is a little. We'll get into it, guys. Let me make sure I know what I'm trying to say here, and then I'll be more specific. Okay, so the House of Ulrich Lang was founded in 2002, but this fragrance, I think it was his fifth in his catalog, did not drop until just a few short years ago in 2014. This is my understanding. Let's get into the notes. I think he wholly owns the company with his business partner, Britt Bigelsen. I think that's how you say it. If I've minced the pronunciation, apologies. Let me pop on over to Fragrantica's website for a second. This has a lot. There is a lot in here, guys. This is not a 3-note, 4-note, 5-note, 6-note, or even 3-accord. It's sort of abstract genius in a bottle, but that does not mean it's everybody's cup of tea. No, it's not. So what else in here, for example? I love aldehydes. I'm not one of these aldehyde haters. There are plenty out there who can't stand aldehydes. I just think they can't stand it because it's either in a really, really cheap eau de cologne, or it's just been used and abused, et cetera, or the whole scent is simply too cheap smelling. So if you're going to use a real cheap, dumb fragrance with lots of aldehydes, well, then I can see you would think you don't like aldehydes. But when you use aldehydes with a really good nose or really good ingredients, or in a really high dollar concoction, I think aldehydes can smell great. And what they give, or what they can give, they can give this little sparkly, shimmering, almost like an acetate. You know, this, first off, guys, before I forget, this is the beautiful sleeve for the box. Well, I don't know, beautiful, but it's kind of interesting. It's kind of celebrating high-end photography. It's got your Aperture here, and this is the 100 mils bottle, which in my hand, which are not giant, it doesn't look very big, does it? You know, that's 100 mils, okay? Aperture, a little plastic cap, not magnetic, just kind of a light pressure fit. You can briefly hold the bottle from the cap, but I don't really recommend it. It's not all that snug. Spray head, if I'm being really, really picky, is not the best that I've seen in the industry. It's very, very basic. Not a good mister at all. It works, mind you, of course. That's not the end of the world, but I'll demonstrate. But what you can't see with that one spray is that sometimes when you go down fast, it kind of cuts off and gives like a little half spray effect. But I mean, it does the job, not the end of the world. This is not at all in any kind of remotely similar vein of Tobacco Vanille or Herod, Parfums de Marly. What else? It's unlike so many other tobacco fragrances out there in the market. I recently reviewed Vaniglia e Tabacco from Mind Perfume Lab out of Italy. Again, this is a little more like a European interpretation of Tobacco Vanille, but not with the ashy, burnt tobacco scent that Tobacco Vanille has, but more of a fresh, robust, cured, slightly Havana-esque type of tobacco. This is Aperture has nothing in common with those, nor does it have much in common with Atkinson's tobacco-based scent. Well, let's go down the ingredients list and we'll get there. Bear with me. Here we go. Okay, you start with your aldehydes. Then you get your peppers. You get your pink pepper, your white pepper, and your black pepper. The heart of the composition has a harmony of flowers that include jasmine and woods and tobacco. So there's the tobacco. And this has a really ample amount of cedar, which I really, really adore, the note, the smell, the scent of cedar. And there's a little lemonish-y type tang of a lily of the valley. Not a whole lot, but it's in there. And then I would also say that, believe it or not, guys, this has musk, ambergris, amber, and vetiver. So there's a whole lot of goodness occurring in this concoction. But here's the very interesting thing about it, which you may or may not love. This is not a thick nor heavy scent. I'm going to say that again for emphasis. This is not a thick nor heavy, super rich, blow your socks off. This is not a beast mode frag. It's thin-ish. I wouldn't call it thin. It's very transparent. It wears very light on the skin. I'm not saying it doesn't have staying power. It's not going to have great sillage. It's not going to have awesome projection. It's going to quietly do the job for several hours. So that's it. Now, if you go heavy, you may be able to eke out another hour or two, depending on how much you're willing to overspray. And as we all know, if you watched any of my fellow reviewers or myself, if you get a lot on your clothing, that will certainly pervade a lot more throughout the day and even until tomorrow in most cases, if you're that concerned about it. As Carlos of BFL, Broken Fragrance Lover channel, has stated many times, he personally has never seen the need nor the desire to always have to have a frag or a fragrance last past 4 to 5 hours. He just doesn't get it. I'm kind of starting to veer towards his opinion, although I will say that the higher the dollar amount goes up that ladder, the much less I'm willing to take those hits or those losses on the sillage and longevity side, if you will. I think it's inexcusable in any frag that cost over $150, and especially north of $200, let's just say USD. or Canadian for that matter. Okay, so back to the way that I interpret the scent. Let me just close this window for you for a. Okay, well, yeah, there I am. Okay, so being that Ulrich is very much into portraiture, not portrait, Aperture is into photography, is into Polaroids back in the old days, and working with like acetates and different chemicals to actually develop, stock film and photos. This is kind of very genius because this scent, to me at least, smells a little bit like some of those chemicals. It smells a little bit like acetate, a little bit like a Polaroid being developed, but there again, in a sort of abstract kind of way, with those hints of tobacco, pepper, pink pepper, again, that lemony lily of the valley, things like that. Again, an animalic tinge to the musk, and especially to that ambergris and the vetiver, but it's all sort of, it's so well blended. Um, and again, with that cedar, I like the fact this doesn't have patchouli, and I do love patchouli, but I'm so tired of seeing every scent and its brother and its cousin and its mother have to have patchouli, have to have oud. No, they don't. I love oud. I love patchouli. Doesn't have to be in every fragrance. So I'm glad that those two things were amicably absent, happily absent from this concoction. This is not for everybody. It's not a powerhouse, but it's a very interesting sort of cerebral type scent. Again, it does have tobacco. It does have vetiver. It does have the different peppers and Lily Valley and a little bit of jasmine and all those things in it. But it's light. It's kind of mild. You do get the tobacco, but you get all those other elements very, very well blended and mingling. You really do get the cedar. And it kind of has this little take on cigarettes and plastic. Not so much a real cigarette, but that pure tobacco smell. It's light. It's interesting. It's kind of artsy fartsy or artistic. I think it's a very interesting scent for summer and spring and fall. I think honestly, if you're really where it's cold, I don't think this would be heavy enough for the dead of winter, in my humble opinion. I'm not at all saying you couldn't try it. By all means, rock out in the winter with it. Just go heavy, I guess. But it doesn't strike me as really, really a good banger for the winter. We tend to really want to wear heavy, syrupy, rich fragrances for the winter, and for the most part for fall as well. Unless you're somewhere so far south that your fall is more like my spring, I guess, if you will. Okay, any new questions on the live chat feed before we get into wrapping it up for this session, guys? I hope the audio is okay. I'm going back to just the camera audio. I'm having so many problems with this stupid web microphone that just, anyways, it's a piece of crap, I guess. But okay, Mike is saying, hey, I wear Kuros. Apples alone, I love Absolute Pour Le Soir, which is, that's good one. Mike, is Absolute Pour Le Soir, are you talking about the MFK concoction from Francis Kurkdjian, Maison Francis Kurkdjian? Or is that a different Le Soir? Let me know in a second. Okay, great. Yeah, I've got Le Soir too. I thought I uploaded my review of that. If you're interested, check out my review of Le Soir. If I haven't yet posted that, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure I already posted it. I know what you mean. There is a light sort of urinal tang in the base, but it's not really urine. It's just something that sort of abstractly approximates to a similar type of smell. But I find that overall it still has that burnt caramel, amber, just rich, syrupy amber, and it kind of just dries down very nice to almost like a woodsy amber. With I don't know, I quite liked it at any rate. Yeah, let's see. What else? My screen is really huge, guys. I apologize for getting this close to the cam. MS, yeah, he just got the Ottoman Empire and Siberian Musk 2 in the mail. Very cool. Yeah, and okay. Um, are you asking, Mike, if you think I think that Le Soir is similar to other frags that I'm aware of, or are we talking about a different fragrance? If you're talking about the MFK, I have smelled one other only that is fairly reminiscent of MFK's Le Soir, but it was not at all a clone or anything, if that makes sense. And I right now I'm a little foggy headed. I cannot for the life of me remember what that was. I can just say it wasn't quite as good, but it was a very similar vein, if that makes sense. Yeah, I would imagine cologne is not as heavy as the eau de parfum. No, I would say Mike is asking me, guys, is Aperture similar to any other fragrance? I will say that no, it's not. Firstly, it's not even remotely similar to any, and I mean zero, other fragrance that I own in my entire collection, nor especially tobacco-based fragrances in my collection. I would, however, say that the only thing that I can kind of draw a connect the dots type line to a little bit is the fragrance from England, from the English nose, the female nose. I believe she's from England. What's it called? Tabac. It's the French word for leaf. Feuille de tabac. Yes. It's not that it's similar to or am I saying that right? Feuille de tabac, feuille de tabac, feuille de tabac. Yeah. It's not at all that it's not that similar to that fragrance, but they both kind of have this weird sort of cerebral, very unique sort of abstract take on sort of like fall like themes that have a lot to do with, like, fall, crunching leaves, tobacco, different things like that. But yeah, it's from the house of Miller Harris. But that's a very different fragrance for sure. They're not at all that similar, but they are sort of slightly inhabiting a similar type of airspace, if you will. They're answering sort of the same question, but just very, very differently, yet with some weird degree of similarity. I hope that helps. I hope I'm not making it sound too ridiculous or abstract. I'm just trying to be as exact and as honest as I can. And again, this is just my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree away. Yes, Miller Harris, by the way, guys, is a mega phenomenal house that I don't know why it's so slept on in the community, dressing bananas. The only negative I will say for the house of Miller Harris that I know of personally, and I say that personally, but from reading online vlogs and blogs and other local fellow reviewers and their videos, on and on and on, Cedric, Granica, is the fact that a lot of her frags or fragrances don't tend to last, in their opinion, again, I haven't tried them all by a long shot, past 2 to 3 hours tops. Now, I cannot verify that. I do get better. I get about 5 to 6, honestly, with my Feuille de Tabac. You may get worse, you may get better. But like I've always said, guys, if you're struggling, if your fragrance is struggling with its longevity and our projection, take a decant or be willing just to spray yourself literally 15 to 20 sprays and get plenty on your clothing. You should be fine for the majority of your work shift or your night out or your lunch or whatever. So that I'm gonna leave it alone on that. That's my little mini rant or advice on that. Pardon me, I'm just trying to read this. Yeah, Jay Chan is saying glad to see you joining the live feed, Jay. Ni hao ma. I assume you're Chinese or Chinese American. Yeah, he says he's glad to see less hyped houses, especially like La Fumée range of Miller Harris. Yeah, I agree. Miller Harris is just a Really, really cool. Very, very niche type. To me, I view it as a niche slash. Yeah, it's more like it's almost indie, but it's really like a niche designer house. That's the way I see it. It's not. It is a designer house, but it's got that niche aspect and feel to it. It's not quite indie, but it's veering real close to independent. I think in terms of she's very creative in her interpretations for a lot of sort of traditional type fragrances in perfumery, and she will interpret a lot of those in a way that I don't really see being interpreted that commonly by most of her peers. And so I think that aspect tends to make the house of Miller Harris feel very sort of independent, niche, upper end designer for sure. Really cool house, guys. Please get your noses on anything from the house. Yeah, nice to meet you guys. House of Matriarch. Yeah, House of Matriarch's wicked cool. Unfortunately, is it Mike or Mitch? I forget, but I think it's Mike. Yeah, the only problem with our global lovers of the House of Matriarch is that you cannot get them globally. They are not legally allowed for U.S. export, unfortunately, which sucks if you're a fan. I sometimes go through the same problems when I try to buy from foreign countries, and they say, "Sorry, guy, our customs will not allow blah 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 out of our country," and I'm like, why? You sell it to everywhere else in Europe and the islands and South America and Africa and the Middle East. What is the freaking problem? I don't understand this global trade war crap. I don't like it. I think it's disgusting. I think the whole world should have, within reason, right? And I'm not trying to skew political or I don't have time to go into a real big diatribe or discussion. I'm just giving my simple opinion that I think that most of global trade needs to be nearly unrestricted, but with the asterisk that it does need to be some kind of scale of commensuration in terms of if I take 2,000 or 20,000 tons from your country, I expect you to take a certain percentage back. It doesn't have to be identical, but we're scratching each other's backs, right? I think fair is fair. So if I'm going to give you 20,000 tons, I expect something back that's commensurate with whatever I can take on. I might be real small and you might be real big, and so it's not realistic that I can take on 20 tons. I get that, right? But I do need to take back enough to make it relevant to my little nation or vice versa. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. I don't mean to go skew political on that. I just don't like all these weird, goofy trade restrictions that are impacting me. They're impacting you. They're impacting all these fragrance lovers around the world. And we're just trying to buy fragrances, man. That's it. There's nothing diabolical. There's nothing seedy or insidious or evil or wicked or, we're just trying to buy awesome products. That's it. I just don't see what the big dealio is. And I'm just reading some comments here. Chris had a huge sale at Matriarch a week ago. Picked up 2, the Longing and Cacao Tauride, or Tauride, however you say that. I'm going to go with Tauride. Yeah, he says he thinks that's why Russia Atom stuff is so highly sought after. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, guys. There's I'm told there's some really high quality Russian products now in high end perfumery. We either can't get them or it's very difficult. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but very, very tricky. Okay, yeah, he's using the real musk, real molecules that can't be done in the USA. Yeah, that sucks, man. And Jay writes, HOM is a really interesting house with their signature incense background to a lot of their incense, like how Initio does vanilla in their offerings. Mike says he really likes Blackbird. Let me just close this. I own it. Let's say Blackbird. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah. Her vanillas are mind-blowing, realistic, and awesome. Okay. Yeah, you could say that, Mike. I am fighting more than allergies. I'm actually fighting a pretty wicked virus going around here in the greater Southwest of the United States right now, and it's just clobbering the heck out of people, kind of like a summer flu or late spring flu. It's pretty bad. It hasn't gotten me fully in its grips, and I'm trying to just, I'm taking all kinds of medicine. I'm saying no, no, no. I'm using the sign of the cross, saying go away. Don't want you here in my house. But the rest of my extended family, they've all got it, and they're all fighting it. So, yeah, it's got my eyes looking not so hot because of that. And I was fighting allergies prior to me getting this little virus knocking my door. I don't think I have the full-blown illness. At least thus far, I don't have all the raging symptoms, but they're bad enough to make life a little bit unpleasant. But I'm pounding back. I'm fighting it. I'm saying, no, 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 go away. Not interested. I'm not buying what this sickness is trying to sell me. So Mike writes hilariously that and this is only Mike's opinion, so if you're watching House of Matriarch, lovely lady, I forget her name, but she's wonderful. I'm not saying I share this opinion at all. I'm just saying Mike's opinion of Blackbird is that he really, really doesn't enjoy it, and that to him it smells like armpit odor in a high school gym locker. So yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah, LA is pretty bad, Mike, for the degree of obviously air pollution. It's probably the worst in the United States of America. So, okay. Well, guys, this has already gone quite a bit longer than I had intended, but it's been lots of fun. I really want to thank my fellow perfume lovers for joining in on this live feed channel. Again, the perfume of the night that we looked at, that this review is really mostly about, in theory, was Aperture by the house of Ulrich, New York. Again, he opened this business back in 2002 with his partner, Britt Bigilson. I hope I'm saying that right, or Bigilson, however you say it. And he has some really interesting other scents. A word of caution, and I'm not trying to say don't support Ulrich. By all means, support him, but a lot of us are pinched in the wallet. And I will say that while you're more than welcome to go to his US-based website and buy this for $200, that's quite a bit. You can get this off eBay right now for as low as $45 to $60. Save yourself an absolute ginormous amount. I got this in a full box for $60 with free shipping. You can get testers with no box and possibly no top cap for as little as $45. I don't know, maybe you might get lucky and get the whole box for $45. I know I did see one fellow seller online selling at $45, but his was only a reputed tester and came with no box. But if you don't care about the box nor this little sleeve, then you can pick it up for $45 on eBay. And either way, guys, that's a whole heck of a lot of money cheaper than a $200 bottle. You can also get it, I think, from his European-based website for 130 euros, which I think is only about $160 to $175 max US. So again, with shipping, you're going to pay something in shipping probably. That's going to do it, guys. I hope you like the feed. Thank you, Jay, for joining in. Sorry that your lunchtime's over. Yeah, catch up again on the next episode or some other time down the road. And thank you, Mike. Yeah, I'm going to be taking some little Claritin or Benadryl or something here and trying to dry these little upper respiratory symptoms up. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for joining me. You guys get some rest and keep on smelling great, looking great, feeling great. Spray often, spray well. Live life on your terms, baby. And get your nose in Aperture. I think it makes a very interesting scent for either fall or spring or summer. Probably a little bit too thin for my taste in the winter. But by all means, I haven't tried it yet, so maybe next winter we'll try. I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much. Peace out. Thanks for joining me. Love you guys. Adios. Adieu.